Okay, so thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about what it means to attract to you better men, like a better quality men than what you've been getting, and why you're getting who you're getting. Um, there's a lot of reasons for attracting a narcissist into your life, and it's not just that you're empathic and they just love your energy and all this other shit, and poor you, you're just, it's not just that. Um, like I said in one of my posts recently, I'm going to pull a teal swan on you, and I'm going to tell you that attracting a narcissist into your life, or anybody who's like highly damaging like that, is in your life because they are there to show you some part of yourself that you really need to deal with, that you've been ignoring, or you're not paying attention to, or whatever. And it doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. But the reason, you can think that you've got yourself squared away, and then you'll get like a string of awful, awful boyfriends and wonder what the hell happened and what it is they want with you, and why you keep getting the same personality with different faces and different names and shit like that. Because I used to say that to myself for years, until I finally like made peace with some things and integrated the parts that, needed to be looked at and soothed and understood and heard and loved, and I still work on things too. Like, I'm not some guru who's like finished reaching enlightenment and all this other shit. Like I have my shit that I still work on too. But mainly, what I want you to understand is that the type of man you attract is going to be who is at your level of what you're willing to accept. And the same goes for them attracting partners. It's who you're willing to accept, and who you're, for lack of a better way to put it, willing to settle for. And you may think that you have all these high standards, and he's got to be this, he's got to be that, and it's got to be whatever. And then you'll find yourself with somebody who you really don't want anything to do with, or you're just not attracted to, or you can't love, or whatever the problem is, and that's not going to get better. That's not going to get better. And you will attract men who have issues that line up with your issues. Like, for example, if you have a hard time committing emotionally to something, or in any way you have a hard time committing to it, you are going to attract men who are desperate for attention, and desperate for commitment, and desperate for love and adoration and acknowledgement and things like that. If you're real business-like and you don't know how to have fun and things like that, you're going to attract partners who, like act like a kid all the time and shit like that, and it's going to piss you off because you take things seriously and you want to be taken seriously, and you can't do that with somebody who's always acting like a 5-year-old and shit like that. So you have to look at what y'all argue about, and where both of you are coming from. For example, when I was married, his problem is that because he was raised by a woman who was not able to do everything for him due to the strictures that she was that were put upon her, she was not able to fully devote herself to him in the way that a child would have deserved. And he grew up lacking in attention and affection and things like that. So he's hungry for that. And he's hungry for that affection, and he's hungry for the hugs and the adoration and things like that, and like, being intertwined all the time. And you see couples that like are sitting on the sofa and their legs are all wrapped up in each other and all this kind of stuff, and like they're always doing that. He's hungry for that. I was not able to provide any of that because that's not where I was coming from, and I was coming from the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I was suffering from the same wounds. I had the same issue, but I dealt with it differently. I went the opposite direction, and what I did was I said, well, hell, if I can't get love, I'm just going to have to toughen up. And I chose to toughen up, and I chose to, just be a one asshole show, and, just operate emotionally on my own, and to not devote myself to somebody else or something on the outside because, for fear of it being taken away or for fear of it falling through or what have you. So I was in a place, inside me where I didn't emotionally commit. Wasn't able to do it. It just wasn't able to. But the reason he attracted me to him, I wasn't attracted to him, but the reason we came into each other's lives is because I had to realize that about myself, and he still needs to realize that about himself. He seems to think that he's ascended and he's ahead of the rest of us spiritually, and that he doesn't have anything else to learn. So I'm not going to go into that, but because I can't help him. I can't help him, but he is desperate for, a woman's affection and motherly love above all else. And considering the stuff that I know about his history and his upbringing, rightly so. But at 40-something years old, you have to start to really sort some of that stuff out on your own, and ignoring it or pretending that you're already past it when you're not doesn't make it go away. So I'm using that as an example because it's such a damn good one. And I thought to myself, you know what, I shouldn't be doing this until I have my shit, sorted out. And I did. I wouldn't say I'm 100% perfect, but I'm in better shape than I was. I'm in better shape than I was because I cut myself a fucking break. I looked at the things I was doing. I looked at my thought processes of the things I was telling myself, and my habits and my expectations, and why I felt that way, and where that comes from in my history. And I knew where it came from, and I had a lot of time to sit and just ruminate on that and explore it and let myself feel it and figure it out. And I'm in a much better place now. But what I want you to know is that these people, the issues that you have with your parents that never get sorted out are going to pop up between your legs. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Your shit that you and your parents either refuse to sort out or don't realize you'll have to sort out or whatever it is, are going to pop up in your partners one way or another, and it's going to be that way forever until you fix it. I'm trying to be like kinder and gentler with y'all, but some shit just has to be said the way it's got to be said, and that's one of those things. And his issue being he was desperate for attention, which is a narcissistic trait, but he's not a narcissist. He's not like that. But that's one of their things, is look at me. And they're doing that because they're so deprived, because their mother didn't bond with them, and it really screwed them up. So they a lot of times attract women or partners who just can't give them that. But the whole point of that is for both of them to see what that issue is in both of them. So in this way, opposites very, very much do attract, but not always, in a peaceful way. So if you are thinking to yourself, well, I've got these standards, I've got, this is the kind of partner I'm looking for, he's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, check these boxes, whatever, I'm going to do a love spell for it, blah, blah, blah. You can do all that stuff if you want to do it, but you have to, you have to remember that there's going to be issues that come up, no matter who you pick, that are showing you what you need to work on within yourself. And that's why you can't worry about fixing them, because what you really need to worry about is fixing you. And that's why y'all fight so much. So what you need to realize is that you have got to start seeing yourself in a better light if you want to attract somebody who sees you in a better light and doesn't have all those issues that they're dragging with them. I mean, everybody's got something. Everybody's got a problem. Everybody's got something they haven't figured out yet. We're all humans and we're here to learn. That's the whole point. But you will be much better off if you sit down with yourself and look at your habits and look at your patterns and look at the mindset and the shit that you've been telling yourself about yourself and about romantic love and about relationships, and look at what the same old thoughts and the same old stories you've been telling yourself over and over again, and look at where that has led you. Nowhere. If you're still going in a cycle of, bullshit lovers, I mean, there's something that's got to be looked at. And if you are not ready to worship yourself, then you're not ready for a partner who is going to do that with you. And that's it. That's it. You have to think highly of yourself, but in a real way, in a real genuine way, in a true way. It meaning not just in a narcissistic way where you're doing it because you're looking for validation and applause and all the other shit. You're thinking highly of yourself because of the work you've done on the inside, and the devotion to yourself that you need to do in order to make yourself, in order to improve yourself and do whatever inner work and healing and integrating that you need to do, and do that work. And then you will, for lack of a better way to put it, you will see that you yourself are worthy of your own adoration and your own admiration and worship and devotion. And once you get to that level, then you'll start attracting partners who agree with you on that. But there's shit you have to hash out first. You can't just be like, well, I have such and such issue, but I'm still gonna get somebody that I like, damn it, and he's gonna look good, and well, I'm just gonna see where it goes. And then you just have a string of bullshit partners who all do the same shit to you, even though they all have different faces and different names. They somehow all still have the same shit. Because there's something you're overlooking, and you have to look at that. I don't know what I mean. It depends. It's different for every person. So like if you want to go one-on-one and really figure it out, we can do that. But I mean, to sit down with yourself and look at your patterns. Your patterns are screaming at you. I used to be in my ex-husband's position. I used to be that. I used to be desperate for attention and acknowledgement and love and adoration and all that kind of stuff. I was hungry for that. I was so hungry for that. And I always attracted boyfriends who were utter shite and didn't see me that way. I was a ego boost for them, because at the time I looked like somebody on TV, and they just paraded me around, and that was like the extent of it. So there's no love that's going to foster there. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's just bullshit. But I attracted those types because they were emotionally unavailable and were not able to appreciate me in any way whatsoever. And I was hungry for appreciation, and we just, we fit together like puzzle pieces because we were positive and negative, not necessarily good for each other. And I had to do that many, many times. And then something happened in me, and I switched, and I turned. Before I could figure it all out, I turned it and went the other way, and then I was the one who didn't want to emotionally commit. And then all of a sudden, I was the one doing the breaking up. And after I started doing the breaking up, that was like a whole new level for me, because I'd never taken power like that before. I always hung on for as long as I could, and then let them do the breaking up, and then I'd be like crushed. And crushed. And then I have to start all over again. It was just a bullshit cycle. And then right around the time I turned 30, something switched in me, and I started getting to a point where I couldn't pick better partners, but when I got tired of them, or when I got tired of the bullshit treatment, I would just go ahead and do the breaking up. I would initiate the breaking up. And the fighting that went on, and the World War III type shit that went on when I started doing the breaking up was obscene. But I did it anyway. And I just had to go to the courthouse and get no contact orders and shit like that. And it just has to be done. And, I just had to do it. But I was willing to face that if it meant just not having them around anymore because it felt like shit. And I thought, well, why does it still feel like shit? And it just takes years to sort that out. And it takes years to sit down and look at yourself and say, damn it, what are you doing? What are we doing here? What is this? And you just have to do it. And I want you to look at everybody in your past that has the one thing in common that each one has done to you that's pissing you off the most and hurting you the most. And I want you to look at that, and first I want you to say, well, okay, who was the first person to make me feel this way? Or who was the first person to do this to me? If you have a bunch of boyfriends who, just don't emotionally commit to you, don't stick around, they leave you without telling you anything, and there's no commitment. Who else has done that in your life? Did your father do that to you? Because he can live with you and not be emotionally available and not be involved with you at all. Plenty of them do it. And they get by with it. But, they they get away with it. But if you can see that, good, because that'll explain it all the more. If you can't figure that part out, then don't worry about it for the time being. Just look at it and say, okay, what am I telling myself? What are my habits? What do I do with these guys? How do you feel when you're going on a first date with somebody, or how do you feel about that first little phase you're in where you're really swept away and you're obsessed with each other and all that kind of shit? How long does that usually last? What goes on? Do you have partners who tell you they love you after like the first week or two? Do you do that? Ask yourself questions about what you do, what your routine is, and that will open up some doors for you to help you understand yourself a bit better. And then once you have some things figured out, you can say to yourself, okay, what do I need to do to start improving upon myself and having a better mindset? And you've got to tell yourself something better about who you are and what you deserve. But you also need to look at what you're doing that's hurting you. So you get that figured out. You start telling yourself better things. You start having a bit more insight and a bit more intuition around about your decisions and why you're getting involved with somebody and what your priorities are with that person. And you ask yourself, okay, is this a priority that's going to hurt me or him or partner, whatever, or is it going to help us? And what's behind it? What's behind the priority? What's the drive? What's the motive? Your motives are everything. Your motives and the reason why you make decisions and shit is everything. So you have to really look at that. Once you get to a point where you are happy with yourself, and you're pleased with yourself and you're satisfied with yourself, and I don't mean 100% because no one is, right? Because we're humans. But once you get to a point where you can look at yourself and you feel like it's safe to be proud of yourself, and you've done work, you've done the inner work, you've done, the growth, you've done whatever it is you want to, meditate on some videos you've seen online, some psychology videos, read some psychology books, went to therapy, got a life coach, whatever. And once you sit and ruminate on that, get your answers, and you can sit there and say, you know what, okay, this is who I am now, this is how I've improved, this is what I've worked on, this is what I've integrated, this is the parts of me that I have shown love and compassion to and understanding. So I've got that squared away now, that part of me is feeling better. Look at your inner child. How does the inner child feel? Communicate with the inner child. Tell the inner child that, she is, it's safe and she's loved, and, she can get love from anybody. And it doesn't have to be every single person, but it should be only from people who value her for her innocence and her beauty and her specialness and things like that. So it is a lot of work to like do all that, but you are worth it. And that's going to lead me into my topic for my next video, which is giving yourself permission to heal. So that's next. But this thing about aligning with your partner, once you iron out some of your wrinkles and you're, vibing higher or whatever you want to call it, once you're a little bit elevated in what you're doing, you can start to attract partners that aren't shitty. And you can attract partners who are, they're still going to be at your level, but now that you're at a better level, they're going to be at a better level. And you can, for lack of a better way to put it, you can like not weed things out, but like it's like using a filter where you can see where you've grown because you're matching who is drawn to you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that when you draw in narcissists that you are also narcissists, but it's that y'all come from the same wounds. You come from the same pain points. Y'all have the same childhood issue. It's just that in the narcissist, they fucking went overboard times 10 and you didn't with the compensating, but the hurt is there. So like I say, with me and my ex-husband, me and him were both hurt in the same way, but we just dealt with it differently. He was starving for attention and I just said, I'll go without. Bye. And I shut it out for some, self-preservation's sake. So, but we had the same problem, and that's how you find it when you've attracted a partner who is seemingly opposite from you. Yeah, they are opposite. What they're doing is opposite, but where they're hurting is the same. So I did an older video about that in the past year or so. After I left him, I talked a lot about that because I needed to explain what I saw in myself and that situation. So and what I learned about myself. But like I say, as you go, you will attract, better and better partners who line up with you and appreciate you more, for your inner workings and the things that you've figured out about yourself. And every now and then you'll still attract, some dumbass who's just there to, try to waste your time. Just swat them away like a fly. It's not a big deal. Just, as you elevate and as you do better for yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're only going to get kings after that. Sometimes you'll still attract, one or two weirdos who are just looking for whatever they can get. But that doesn't say anything about you. It just says that, they're just there and they're everywhere. There's no hiding from them. So, every now and then you'll still get a wild card trying to come your way, but you swat them away. They can't, because that's somebody who's there to compete with you. And a real partner who is aligned with you and who understands you and understands the progress you've made is not going to be there to compete with you or to tell you what you're doing wrong or to beg you for anything. A partner who is right for you doesn't have to beg you, and you don't have to beg them for anything. Not attention, not help, not acknowledgement, not understanding, not nothing. So you'll have a much better flow when it comes to the way y'all communicate and the way y'all understand each other. And the communication is important. Don't be ashamed to tell your partner, whether they're new or not, don't be ashamed to tell them like what you want to tell them about yourself, what you've worked on, what you figured out, what you're still working on, whatever. If that person, let's say y'all are in your 30s or at least, if that person that you're telling this to, because you're trying to connect and be close to this person, like understand each other, and if you're telling them something about yourself and they're like, oh, this is fucking weird, well, I don't know about all that, I've never done that, oh, bye. Don't waste your time. Just like, you're not losing any power when you tell somebody about yourself. There's so many people that are shy about telling somebody what they've worked on within themselves or whatever, and there's like nothing to be scared of. You tell somebody something about your past, like a mistake you made or something you learned or about yourself or whatever, and what's the other person going to do? Print it in the New York Times? Well, who gives a fuck? So what? You haven't lost any power just because you told a story. You know what I mean? I'm very big on that because I used to be that way. I used to worry about talking about myself and like, I thought I was like handing away chunks of myself every time I told a story about myself and like opened up. And that's not true. Looking back, that was not true. I should have never been thinking that, but I did. And you could tell somebody whatever the fuck you want, and if they say, I don't want to fuck with this, bye. You know, they couldn't handle it. Fine. Oh well, whatever. Out with the old and in with the new. You know, there's no loss when somebody leaves you for something stupid like that. All that is they've created a void for somebody else to come in and fill it. Okay, next, you know, your turn, and just see what happens. And you don't have to be so. I mean, the devotion is the point, you know, but that can happen. That happens over time, but you don't have to be so wrapped up in it that you're worrying about who's going to stay and who's going to go, you know, because you're not losing power when something shifts like that. That's not how it works. And once you see your value, once you do the integration and the inner work and all that kind of shit, and you see your real value, your true value, and your true worth, your confidence will be solid, because you're going to see that you deserve love. And not just everyone else's, but your own. And once you know that you've got your own love and you've got your own support, and you can be your own cheerleader or whatever the fuck you want to call it, somebody else, you know, coming in and out or whatever, or like going on a different date with somebody different every week or something to try to, like, you know, find somebody you're aligned with and shit. It's not going to hurt you if it doesn't work out, because you've still got you. You have your own back. And then once you're feeling good about yourself, it's gonna, the dating pool or whatever might feel like it's getting smaller and smaller, but really it's just narrowing down to the people who vibe with you and who appreciate that. The fact that you believe in yourself and you love yourself and you respect yourself no matter who's around, because that's the whole point. So as you get better at that and you attract better quality ass partners, it's not going to be as bad. So I may leave it at that for now. I feel like there's more I want to say, but I might do like a part 2 to this or something. But that's the main message I wanted to get out right now, was that as you level up, you will get better partners. But as I said in the beginning, it is imperative, it is so important that you look at your own habits and your own mindset and the shit you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you deserve and where you're coming from, and look at the string of partners you've had and what they did and what they have been like. And you just have to, you know, do the deep dive and just look at it. If you want to change it, you got to look at it. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Next video is going to be good too, so if you want to stick around, go for it. But that's all I want to say about that, about elevating and getting partners that are more aligned with you as time goes by, as you start to really understand and appreciate yourself. And like I say, as you get to the point where you do really and truly appreciate yourself and worship yourself and adore yourself, you will attract people that understand that and vibe with that, and they'll be there to do it too, and then y'all just like adore each other because they'll be doing the same thing. It can happen. It takes a little bit of time and a lot of bit of work, but that can happen. So I don't want people to get down. I usually talk about like a lot of negative stuff in my videos, because like we have to hash things out and I answer questions and stuff like that. So a lot of times, you know, I talk about like sad topics or whatever, or like hurtful things. But today I wanted to do something a little bit different and talk about something that's not so sad. So anyway, that's it for that. And yeah, that's it. So you just got to do the inner work and appreciate yourself along the way, and appreciate every step you make, and see that, you know, you are valuable no matter who's around, and that will lead you in the right direction, and you will have more people in your life, and not just partners but friends and shit too, you know, and colleagues who see that and get that and appreciate that and want to celebrate it with you, and y'all can just celebrate each other being amazing. That's the whole point. And that's it. So thanks for listening.